check out today's piece of fan art. It's Daki, the bewitching new villain of this current season of Demon Slayer. Considering Twitter is still whining about Nezuko's transformation, I feel this art is appropriate for today's topic. I've gotta say, she's especially wicked with blank eyes like this. Thank you so much, BL Writing Bara. Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. Dai here. Today's video is actually a sequel of sorts to a previous one I made called It's All Fun and Games Until Someone Gets Off. In it, I talk about how fearing the male gaze has actually caused certain groups to shame, restrict, and restrain otherwise wholesome forms of feminine expression. The idea was that not everything one can find sexy is inherently sexual, and treating it as such really isn't fair to anyone involved. Rather than policing thoughts and ideas, we ought to continue holding people accountable for their actions, and not just what makes it into their spank banks. That was in response to the censorship of schoolgirl uniforms in anime, which was especially ironic considering a currently airing anime, Akebi's sailor uniform, is one of the most sweet and wholesome anime I've ever seen. The idea of condemning it for what perverts might think is doing women the world over a major disservice. It's an intimate show that lovingly showcases the story of a teenage girl making lasting friendships at school, centered around her desire to wear a setafuku like her favorite idol. From my perspective, it's a show I'd expect everyone, especially women, to really enjoy for its wholesome nature, brilliant animation, and stunning voice work. Sadly, it seems that the reviewers at AnimeFeminist.com don't necessarily agree. You see, Anime Feminist, otherwise known as Anifem on social media, is a review website that started very close to when I began this YouTube channel. As their name implies, they review anime through a traditional feminist lens, looking at all the latest shows for things like excessive fan service, male gaze exploitation, or any other problematic elements. I'm not at all against the concept, at least as far as disclaimers are concerned. The idea of being transparent about what an anime contains so that viewers aren't caught off guard by something they don't want to see is perfectly valid. Something like saying, yes, this anime features upskirt camera angles, beach episodes, and bath hijinks. Rather than censoring such works, it allows any offended parties to just steer clear entirely. That's not all Anifem does, however. They write reviews, judging the very value of anime based on these potential trigger warnings, often taking the worst possible interpretation of things. They've often taken issue with anime that I actually find quite fair and empowering for women. For instance, they're currently hating on Nezuko's transformation in Demon Slayer, not because she has breasts, but because she was clearly designed to look hot, which they find boring? I'm sorry, but seeing hot women kicking ass is one of the least boring things in this entire universe. Even beyond that, they draw wild conclusions, like Nezuko's out-of-control mature form being some larger statement on female sexuality as a whole. Can't we just let demons be demons? I'd expect a site like this to write articles about how problematic Gurren Lagann and Kill la Kill are, but they're also surprisingly predictable with outrage for anime like Shield Hero as well. A normal person watching that show would see it as a fictional scenario about what would happen if a woman lied about being assaulted in order to ruin a man's life. Anifem elevates this to accuse Shield Hero of implying and normalizing the idea that women are frequently lying about their Me Too struggles. As Anita Sarkeesian frustratingly said, media doesn't exist in a vacuum, implying that literally all fictional stories have to have a larger societal meaning or political message. Anifem's writing is so consistent that I often find myself watching anime I really like, thinking, I bet that would piss them off, and double-checking on their site to confirm my suspicions were right. It's gotten to the point where we can anticipate which anime will cause a riot well before they even air, and Anifem serves as a decent barometer of that, as the anime actually do come out. Thus, I want to go through their review of the first episode of Akebi-chan's Sailor Uniform. This article, written by Alex Henderson, literally tries to bring out the very worst in what I consider to be a delightfully sweet series. Considering episode 1 was tame compared to the other 2 episodes currently available, I was shocked to see Alex squeeze so much criticism out of literally nothing. After a basic synopsis of the plot, Alex begins their review by gushing about the production values, noting how the girls are portrayed without too much twee, as though that would have been an issue. Their praise derails when they mention the episode used its gorgeous detail-oriented animation to depict a middle school girl clipping her toenails and smelling her own feet. I'm gonna be a stickler and clarify that the girl in question wasn't smelling her feet directly, but rather just the clippers after the fact. Alex then continues that the anime has a voyeuristic undercurrent that makes them feel off. Alex elaborates on the detail-oriented animation, pointing out how the camera lingers on Akebi's wiggling toes, highlights the shine and viscosity of sweat and water droplets, and lovingly crafts every angle of Akebi getting dressed into her uniform. They clarify that these intimate details, even the bath scenes, don't qualify as fan service in the traditional sense. As these details added up, however, including things like the extra shiny lips, poses, and crinkly fabric, Alex claims to start worrying if these details were put there as fetish fuel. They can't shake their discomfort with the intimacy of these shots. Alex then switches to a tangent about how anime and manga creators are being arrested for CP as of late, bringing in a controversy that this anime doesn't touch upon in the slightest. Alex admits this weariness detracts from their desire to focus on the plot and other cute elements, arguing the anime is instead trying to force them to look at a teenager's feet. It's quite the twisted confession Alex makes, that their desire to enjoy this fun little story is ultimately tainted by their preconceived worries about the show being fetishized. Given how Alex Henderson is stated to be writing a thesis about queer representation in fiction, it seems pretty clear to me that they're quite used to forcing individual pieces of escapism into a socio-political context that can pretty much ruin any innocent story. I find it fascinating how one of the site's own commenters, people who typically eat up this sort of analysis, calls Alex out on suddenly bringing up this whole CP thing mid-review, practically implying the creator behind Akebi is a predator. Personally, I can kind of understand the reviewer being concerned about people viewing this show as fetish fuel. There's no doubt in my mind that someone out there is fapping to those clipped toenails or the subtle folds of Akebi's skirt. As I said in this video's prequel, literally anything can be found attractive, but as long as people are keeping those thoughts private and being civil to each other, there shouldn't be an issue. In addition, the presence of those impure thoughts shouldn't negate the innocence of the thing in question. Alex says these details are crafted lovingly, and that should be all that matters. If you let your experience of an anime suffer based on what you expect other people might be thinking about it, that's just sad. I also mentioned in the previous video that even if these loving details are sexual in nature, that doesn't mean depictions of sexuality are inherently inappropriate or degenerate. An even better example of this comes from the anime's third episode, in which one of Akebi's classmates, Kei Tanigawa, struggles with her own personal confidence. She's quiet and reserved, in complete contrast to Akebi's extreme extroversion. That said, it's not like Kei wants to be antisocial, so she very much appreciates Akebi's friendship and her taking initiative in their relationship. Akebi compliments the smoothness of Kei's legs, something Kei finds immediately embarrassing. Rather than showing off her legs directly, Kei attempts to take a picture of herself and send that to Akebi instead. In the privacy of her own room, Kei gazes at her own legs and starts to feel confident in herself based on Akebi's encouragement. She begins to explore her body with her camera, taking a variety of increasingly exposed pictures. While nervous, she adorably finds herself beautiful through these photos. When her mom comes in, Kei gets startled, accidentally sending one of her more revealing selfies to Akebi. Again, as embarrassing as this is, Akebi simply looks at the picture in awe, commenting on how good Kei is at taking photos of herself. As a result, the episode ends with Kei deciding to join her school's photography club. My wife and I both found this episode to be extremely tender and affectionate. Yes, Kei was knowingly taking conceivably lewd photos of herself, but it was on her own terms, by her own curiosity. She wasn't inviting any lecherous or demeaning interactions. She wasn't asking for any predatory reactions, and in the context of the anime itself, no such reactions occur. Of course, cinema's voyeurism is inherently intrusive. We, the audience, are getting front-row seats into the lives of these innocent girls, and we can think whatever we want with the footage presented to us. Even if the show's internal context is innocent, that doesn't mean audiences are, and that's what Alex seems afraid of. Their review suggests that, had the animators stepped back and gave fewer intimate details, potential predators wouldn't have fuel to fap to. But to me, that sounds no different than saying, I don't want my anime to look beautiful, just in case people don't interpret that beauty the same way I do. If your complaint is that an anime is too beautiful, or could be more comfortable if the artists behind it were less passionate and skillful about the small details, I don't want to trust your reviews regardless of whether I consider myself a feminist or not. Therein lies the fundamental flaw with AnimeFeminist.com and its reviews. By making it their job to catalog all the potential trigger warnings anime can have, they go into these anime intentionally looking for things to be offended by. Turns out, our brains are very prone to confirmation bias, so if we watch an anime looking for things to complain about, we'll certainly wind up performing the mental gymnastics to find issues even if they don't exist. It's to the point where things that are meant to be beautiful and gorgeous are seen as wicked. Under their paradigm, literally anything can become problematic with the right approach. As a result, one of the sweetest anime I've ever seen, one that I would gladly show to any female anime fans, isn't getting the recognition it deserves on a self-proclaimed feminist platform, all because their reviewer insists on bringing outside drama where it doesn't belong. I don't mean to imply that what Anime Feminist does recommend is bad, but rather they wind up missing out on tons of great shows that really don't deserve the hate. This approach to evaluating anime isn't healthy for escapism, nor is it healthy for the real world. If you expect disappointment, you'll probably find it, even if you have to invent it. Thankfully, the opposite is often true, so if you're someone who considers yourself a feminist, or just a woman in general, please give Akebi-chan's Sailor Uniform a watch and tell me what you think. Obviously, I'm a guy, and perhaps Akebi's not even geared towards a fan like me, but that doesn't mean I can't appreciate what the show is going for like everyone else. Are any of you guys familiar with Anifem? What do you think about them and their reviews? What do you think about Akebi? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. Before I go ahead and roll the credits, I want to give a special shout out to my $10 supporters. Video Gamer 75, Stephen Elak, Otaku Mom, Jens Ballman, Mystic Samurai 1983, Freebrick, RNG or Shuffles 1498, Crod, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Nigel, Happy, Sakura-chan, Caitlin P, and SF Giants fan Mike. Thank you all so much. Thanks for watching.
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or our YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like exclusive vids and early access.
As always,
celebrate your fandom!